Coming up on All About Android, I'm joined by Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and our guest, J.R. Raphael from Android Intelligence. I do a first look at the Pixel Buds, which I got not too long ago, and I've been enjoying them ever since. Also, details about Google's contact tracing system. Pixel 4a is leaking like crazy at this point. The Galaxy S20 Ultra-gate is officially on. Fairphone, sans Google apps and services, your email, and more next on All About Android. All About Android is brought to you from LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether they're working in the office or remote. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Hover. Do you have a domain name that truly represents you and your passion? Visit hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. And by ExpressVPN. Now that a lot of you are working from home, it's even more important to choose a VPN you trust to protect you from online threats. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid. Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 471, recorded on Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. Your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I am Ron Richards.
Hi, Ron.
And I am Florence Ion.
Hi, Florence. How are you all doing today?
Hey, there's JR.
Oh, and there is JR. We're just going to jump right to him. Welcome back to the show. I don't even know how many years, and yes, it's been years since we had JR Raphael, author of the Android Intelligence newsletter and column to the show. How are you, JR? It's so great to see you again.
I am great as one can be in our current social isolation time. I think it's been like 47, 48 years. It's been a really long time. It's good to be back.
Wow. Since the last time, I know Android has come so far in 47 years. We're still podcasting about it.
I remember a couple of years ago, we were trying to figure out who a guest on an upcoming show was. I'm like, what about JR? And Jason's like, no, he's not doing shows anymore. Like, we can't. I tried. We've asked numerous times, but I'm glad that Jason stayed persistent and we got you back on the show. That's fantastic.
Well, I don't really like you guys, so I try not to do it. But no, it's just a timing thing. It's awkward with kids and work schedules and all that. But no, it's good to be back. I've been wanting to do it forever, so I'm ecstatic to have the chance again.
We're thankful you made it. You made the accommodation. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate you not getting frustrated with me when I check in with you every 8 to 12 months. Be like, okay, well, what about now? Because you're one of my favorite guests. Long term, time throughout the show. I just always really enjoy you on the show. So there you go. You made me admit it on the air. You're one of my favorites, and I'm super happy to have you back on.
The last time you were on was April 12th, 2016.
Wow.
Okay.
And I was not on the show that week.
I don't think Flo was either, right?
Yeah, I was. I started in September 2015.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't think you were there that day. I don't think I've ever done a show that you've been on.
No, so that show was no Ron. Ron was out.
Me, yeah. I was out. Yeah.
On that episode. So I'm assuming Flo was there. It was probably just the three of us.
I just blocked it out of my mind, I guess. Sorry, Flo.
we had the new LG 360 in the house, and you had just spoken with Hiroshi Lockheimer, JR, on your show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a lot has happened in the last 4 years.
It was a lifetime ago in mobile tech terms, really. As
the Android world turns. Right before we started the show, JR, you mentioned an article in 9to5google.com that I didn't even see until you mentioned it. So I thought we'd throw it in here real quick because it's just one of those, if this is true, oh my goodness. But apparently there's a rumor swirling around. 9to5Google picked up on it, has a source that says that Google might actually be rebranding Android TV back to Google TV. And it sounds absurd because it used to be Google TV and then it became Android TV and then it would be back to Google TV. But then at the same time, I could totally see it happening.
This makes sense. It does, given the branding moves that Google's been doing.
Yeah. Wouldn't be
It
surprised.
also just speaks volumes to the back and forth, indecision, lack of any cohesive, consistent strategy that I know we'll talk more about in another context a little later. But, oh, man, does anyone have a long-term vision? Someone must. I guess in theory, it just shifts a lot.
Well, yeah, it's just going to say it's a long-term vision that lasts about 3 years. And then,
right.
That's
and then they get a new
long-term
long-term vision.
Google. Yeah, totally. That is 3 years is kind of the definition of long-term for Google. So
Google's like overall issue is just that there are so many people just coming up with really great ideas that naming is kind of the last thing that they think about. It's kind of like how in our trade, me and JR's trade, we the headline is the last thing you kind of think about, and you can kind of like flex a little. It's just that in Google's kind of flexing a little too much and too often, maybe.
I'm gonna object to two of those statements that you made, Flo.
Okay.
One is that in your and JR's trade, hey, I've been blogging since the early aughts. I was,
I'm sorry,
I put in my
time.
time.
That was completely, I'm sorry.
I was
You're right.
I was a writer back in the day, and I always started with the headline. And this is years before clickbaity and things like that. But when I was doing stuff, I'm like, what's going to grab people into this?
This is your process. My process is a little more backwards.
Yep.
yeah, it probably depends on who you ask as far as that's concerned.
Well, then I guess me and Google have that in common.
Yeah,
Hey, there you go. Maybe it's your future. You'll be the future namer of products. And it's really easy because you come up with one name, like 5 years later, you get to use it again. You just switch back and forth to 3 others in the meantime. I mean, it's kind of the same. I know we're going to talk about this.
You really don't have to commit to anything in this case. It's,
We've got Google Chat coming back, G Chat from way back when. Everything just goes in a cycle. You come up with one good name, it'll come back around 5-10 years later.
We'll find a new way to use it, new reason to use it, or maybe it'll be the same reason, the same way. All right, so let's. So that wasn't really news; it was more rumor. But now, now we've got some news. Burke, let's hit it.
No Star Wars news. May the Force be with you. Always.
That was yesterday.
I mean, the 5th. May the 5th be with you always.
Isn't it like May the Sith or the Revenge of the Sith, or I can't remember, or the Return of the Sith? I don't know. Something. It's like every day in May has like a Star Wars reference to it. That's as good as I can get. Ron, you got the first story.
Cinco de Mayo, everyone.
Wow.
All right, so
or that. We
talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and there's been a lot of discussion around how Google is going to help in the COVID-19 kind of mess the world is in by utilizing technology to help contact tracing. And there's a lot of speculation around if it would be something that'd be voluntary or things you can opt in or opt out of, how it's going to work. Well, Google is starting to show its work on the contact tracing concept on Android. Initially, it's going to be leveraging Play services, which will be updated in the background automatically. The first phase involves third-party apps from public health agencies that tap into Android's newly integrated control set. There's going to be system-level controls within the settings app called, quote-unquote, COVID-19 exposure notifications, and you'll get the ability to turn it on or off, and links to the health agency app on the device. It lists the number of exposure checks that have taken place in the past 14 days. There's an option to delete random IDs and turn off exposure notifications. The feature does not use device location, which is fascinating. In fact, apps are prohibited from asking for location access. However, location settings do need to be on in order to detect nearby Bluetooth devices. Google's also released a sample app code to help health organizations develop their own apps quickly. So what do we think? Do we think that this is going to be enough to help stem to have a positive impact on keeping people from being exposed? Or is this Google kind of saying, hey, we're doing everything we can here, health organizations, use it in your own apps, and they're just, kind of washing their hands of it?
I think I like what I see. I think that they're doing it responsibly, in my opinion. Having it be a Bluetooth sort of connection, but actively prohibiting the health organization app that is actually facilitating, this sort of detection, prohibiting them from having location access, I think goes a long way, or at least for a lot of people, I think it will, in hopefully calming them down as far as like, oh, but this is tracking. A lot of people aren't going to really understand or know the difference. And frankly, a lot of people also aren't going to care at all. They're just going to say, hey, anything that's going to protect me from catching this virus, I'm all in, whatever, here take my permission as far as that's concerned. But I trust Google in this sense, and I think what they're showing with this information, and definitely what we'll see in the coming weeks as the apps start to be released and everything, I think they're showing some pretty good faith as far as their intentions here, which are to help out. And they've already also said that this isn't going to last after. They're going to remove this after the virus's threat is passed. So I don't know. I feel comfortable enough to use it. I'll definitely be checking it out. But I also am on an Android show, so maybe that makes me a different use case than random people.
But do you think it goes far? Do you think that will work? Does it go far enough, or are they putting those limitations in there and will those limitations limit the effectiveness of it?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I think that remains to be seen, right? Like Bluetooth as a technology is a pretty near field connection technology. If it was too wide, then it would almost be not very useful in and of itself. Let's say if it was location data, but somewhere in the range of like 250 feet around you, like it would be telling people you cross paths with somebody who had the virus way more that way, when in essence maybe they didn't need to know. Maybe there was very low chance that person actually crossed direct paths, and then at the same time this person sneezing or whatever the situation would be, that the transmission would happen. So you don't want to make it too wide either. And I think Bluetooth being such a near field kind of communication method makes that better, and also strips out the location tracking aspect. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone. Maybe that was a bad reference term to use. JR, I know that you wrote about this a couple of weeks ago when this was kind of bubbling up, and you asked some questions in your article as far as what we have yet to find out about this. I feel like this kind of answers at least a little bit of what you were writing about. What do you think?
A little bit. I still have a lot of questions. First, sure. I'll say I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm really glad Google and Apple are working together and doing it. And like you, I don't have any qualms or think anybody should realistically have any reservations based on everything we're hearing. It seems like they're approaching it thoughtfully, responsibly, and taking every precaution possible to assure people. At the same time, well, on a technical level with the Bluetooth, I still wonder, effectiveness-wise, how is this? I mean, it really can't differentiate between, say, you passing somebody on the street whose phone, eventually may get flagged as having it, very quickly, both wearing masks, no contact, maybe like 5 feet away, and somebody standing over your shoulder without a mask and coughing for 30 seconds. There's no way it can really tell the difference. So in that way, it's hard not to see it maybe doing a little bit of either false positive, false worry, or false sense of security, something, just kind of giving you the wrong message. But my bigger question is just how many people, especially in the US, are going to opt into this, despite everything, all the assurances, everything Google can say, everything it can show about how it's working. It's just hard to imagine any massive number of Americans actively agreeing and going out of their way to opt into it, both in principle, because they're going to have concerns, and just out of kind of inertia and laziness. And, you have to go and do it and download the app. So without a lot of people signing up and actively participating, a system like this can't work. So I think that's my biggest question, is just, is there any chance enough people, especially in the US, are going to do it for it to work, with it being so optional, so opt-in, so many steps you have to take to make it happen? I guess we'll find out.
Is there an onboarding process for this that I'm just not seeing in this article?
Remains to be seen, because the apps themselves haven't been released yet, so we don't know. Basically, what Google and Apple have done is they've said, here's how we're baking this into the system, the API that allows for this. Here's some sample code so that those health organizations that are going to create the apps that tap into our API, so that they have a general idea of what they can create. And hopefully, the sample code makes it easier for them if they want to use it. If they don't, it's up to them. So yeah, JR, I think that you're right. I think the big question will be how much awareness is around, people having the ability to install this app or really know what it's all about. There's got to be some sort of messaging campaign to motivate people to do this. And, it remains to be seen how effective that's going to be once we actually have apps to turn to. So we will keep you posted, and I'll be eager to watch where that goes from there. All right, Flo, you got the next one.
Well, this should be absolutely no surprise. Smartphones are not really selling like they used to. I wonder why. So IDC's quarterly mobile phone tracker says that the worldwide shipments of smartphones have declined 11.7% year over year. So actually, this pattern kind of started, or rather, it was on the downslope. So this year is the largest annual decline ever. Canalists say shipments fell 13% in the first quarter, reaching lowest level since 2013. It also says that the second quarter is expected to be the peak of the impact, which means more time. There is more time for things to get worse. So on top of your favorite clothing stores and department stores closing down, smartphones are also taking a huge hit. Strategy Analytics has reported similarly a 17% drop in overall smartphone sales. Again, I pose this question for everybody here, which I'm sure you're going to agree with me. Is anybody surprised at any of this news, considering what's going on in the world?
I don't think I would have been surprised even if the coronavirus situation hadn't come up, because we've been seeing this and hearing these trends we've been hearing, of course, it's going to accelerate it, but we've been seeing these kind of trends in general for quite a while now, with just little exception that people are holding on to smartphones longer, justifiably so. You know, each year's new hardware innovation is a little less exciting, a little less important. It's kind of more about the software experience that's pushing things forward. And Samsung's trying, different companies are trying with the foldables and stuff like that, but those have yet to really catch on and reach a mass market ready point. So I mean, the coronavirus situation is surely going to make it worse, but it seems like this has been the narrative and the thread we've been hearing for a while now. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, you don't need to buy a new phone every year anymore. I mean, if you want to, more power to you, but there's no reason the phone you have can't last easily for 2-3 years. And especially if it's getting updates, if you're going with a Pixel phone that's getting 3 years of updates, it's not much reason to necessarily upgrade just for hardware alone now.
JR, you are totally, I feel like you're totally on the money, because we're seeing that, like, similarly, the retailers and department stores that are not doing well now, or are, filing for bankruptcy or closing stores, they were not doing very well before we kind of hit this big slump. And so I guess that does speak to the fact that overall smartphones have been slowing down. I mean, think about how expensive they've become just in the last 2 years. Like, everything just kind of jumped up to $1,000 minimum. And that is quite a lot of money to spend on anything for a lot of people. And, we also have to think of smartphones. They're like little computers in the pocket. And how long do people hold on to their computers sometimes? Like, I could see the same thing maybe happening to smartphones, especially with how reliable they have become in recent years.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I actually don't think, I think, probably coronavirus, contributed to this in terms of Asia's numbers, but this is Q1 2020. So, like, it didn't really, we didn't really feel the crush from it till the very end of Q1 in the US market. And I think Flo, I think your point is spot on, is that the phones are working better than ever. They're lasting longer than ever. And the consumer rush to get the newest, latest, greatest thing, seems to be less, even on the Apple side. I mean, you see, it used to be every time an iPhone came out, everyone I knew who was an iOS user rushed out to get the latest one. And now you hear a lot more like, well, do I need it? And the last one was better. And there are problems, it seems like every phone release is mired with what the problems with the phone is and why you shouldn't buy it.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, completely agree. I don't really have a whole lot to add. I think you guys are spot on, and I think it's a very valid point that you make, Ron, as far as Q1. Not again, maybe a lot of effect and a lot of change happening in China and kind of the surrounding regions with the beginnings of the coronavirus, perhaps. But here in the U.S., like, we didn't really get rolling until mid-March. As far as that's concerned, It's going to be an interesting experience when we get to the Q2 numbers and we start to realize, we're starting to get some earnings reports and projections and everything. Things are changing. And I think it's really, really kind of fascinating how, as time plays on, certain qualities of the market were like made for now. The fact that the mid-range is so strong right now, and suddenly, like, all these phones, that we're going to be talking about later in the hardware section, most of them are firmly in that mid, maybe upper mid tier. They're using a lesser Snapdragon processor than the most premium, even though they could have used the most premium, but that one's just so ridiculously expensive. It creates $1,000 plus phones. And right now people probably aren't buying $1,000 phones. So there's this like confluence of events that's like, oh, okay, that strong mid-range is coming in at just the right time for people who might absolutely need to upgrade their phone. They've got a lot of options, or they will have a lot of options. So timing is everything as far as that's concerned, and not good for others, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Well, but before we start the next story, leading into the next story, Jason, I was on a call earlier today with someone in the larger Google enterprise, and they had the Pixel Buds 2 in their ears, and those were the first Pixel Buds I saw in the real world via a Google Meet call. So yeah,
that is the real world.
And no surprise there that, Jason, you were holding them up. This person gave a very, very strong review of them and said that they were great, although they're probably biased because they're a Google employee, but still.
Probably a little bit biased. Yeah. And I don't know why I didn't put this in the hardware section, because we needed another news story, and I felt like Pixel Buds has been kind of like a big news item.
It's the news.
Week. I got these on Friday, and so I've been using them all weekend. I've got a review that I'm going to be recording for Hands on Tech that'll be out next Monday. So I have some more time left to kind of use them. I use in-ear buds all the time, so I get plenty of usage out of them. And yeah, I mean, the Pixel Buds are actually pretty great. I have to say, like, the reviews that I read said that this is really satisfying. It totally is. It's just like, it's got a nice click snap to it that's just really satisfying. And these things pop in and out with a little magnet. So I don't know. It's really, really useful and just really satisfying. But in my time using them so far, like, I'm pretty impressed. I think the sound quality is really good. I have yet to do a direct comparison to the Jabra Elite 75Ts, which are my preferred in-ear buds right now. These are maybe a little less comfortable than those, just because that little prong thing. Here, let me pull these out of here. The little prong thing right here that really fastens it into your ear. If you got these in for a couple hours, you start to kind of feel that a little bit. It's like a little soreness. Here, I don't know if you're seeing that little stick out thing. A little soreness that kind of creeps in. One thing I really like about them, though, is the hands-free assistant. Like, literally, I don't have to do anything but just say, hey, G. You know, I was out for a run, and I was like, hey, G, skip back 30 seconds or rewind 30 seconds on the podcast I was listening to because I missed something. And it just automatically did it, and that was really cool. I appreciated not having to tap my ear in order to make that happen. The case wirelessly charges. And if you've been following my Twitter feed, you'll know that I had issues with that initially. For 2 days, I could not get the case to wirelessly charge. And then this morning, I was in touch with Google support, and they're like, why don't you record a video of it not working? I'm like, okay, yeah, I will. And I went upstairs and I did it. And of course it worked. It was totally one of those, like, it's happened to me a million times where my wife is having an issue with some piece of technology. She's like, I've been here for 10 minutes. Come here and tell me what I'm doing wrong. And literally my presence is the reason that it just suddenly works. So that happened to me. So that's always a lot of fun. Jeff Jarvis has experienced issues with sound cutting out between the two earphones. One would just go out or they'd fall out of phase, which is actually a pretty common kind of issue that happens with true wireless earbuds. Sometimes they fall out of phase. They aren't perfectly synced. So I don't know if that's a Google Buds issue or just a Bluetooth issue in general, but I haven't experienced that. But so far, I'm really I'm very positive on them. I think the design of both the buds as well as the case is just really top notch. Like, it's a nice feeling piece of technology. You know what I mean? It's got Pixel devices, and then they have this like smooth quality that it's hard to describe, but it feels like a Pixel device. And I know that sounds weird, but it totally does. If you feel the back of a Pixel phone, it has a certain kind of like feeling that isn't just like texture. Straight glass. Yeah, texture. A little bit of like a soft texture to it. And this case does too, and so do the earbuds themselves. So so far I'm really, really liking them. Any of you guys pull the trigger, or you decided you're going to pass on these? I know, Ron, you're not getting them.
No shade to what Google's attempting, but I'm fine with my Samsung buds.
Yeah. Okay.
I suspect I will end up buying them. Actually, I ordered one pair that's going to be for my wife, so she'll be our resident guinea pig because she's been interested in them for a while too. I tend to not be as much of an earbud wearer in general. Even if I'm working out, I've got like the sweatproof over the ear ones. So I don't know. I'm really intrigued by them. I'm especially intrigued by the assistant integration that you were just talking about, Jason. I think I'll probably steal hers here and there and try them out and see if they're comfortable enough. Just in general, earbuds tend to just kind of irritate me after a while. I've never been comfortable wearing them for long periods, but maybe this will be the exception. I'm definitely intrigued. I'm definitely tempted, but since we're getting hers first, I think I'll use those as my gauge and kind of see how it goes.
Totally. Yeah. And I will say, because this has come up on the show in the past, especially with you, Ron, you don't like the kind that fit into your ear canal. And while these do that, I will say directly compared to the Jabra Elite 75Ts and the 65Ts before them, those have like an earplug quality, like you're putting in earplugs sort of thing, and you feel that like suction. These don't. And then part of the reason for that is because they have on the bottom, they have this little spatial vent that they talk about that kind of releases a little bit of that suction feeling and actually lets through some environmental noise so that you aren't completely sealed off from your environment. And I would say they work really well in that department. I don't feel like I'm putting in earplugs when I put these in my ears.
Interesting.
But they might still feel enough like you're putting something in your ear canal that you wouldn't like them, Ron. But
I will be honest that when I was on that call and after hearing the person give like a kind of firsthand kind of description of using them, I was like, oh, maybe I should reconsider. But it's an awfully expensive flyer to take on something that you might never want to use ever again. And it's also not the kind of thing where, like, even if I knew someone around me locally who had them, to be like, oh, let me try that earbud, because you know you don't share those things, right? So it's like
so true.
Yeah,
so true.
Even in normal times, you wouldn't want to do that for most people.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's an interesting point, Jason, about the spatial vent thing that you were just talking about. Because I think when I was reading, I read a lot of reviews of these. And I think part of the problem with reviewing earbuds is that they're just so inherently personal. There's so much preference involved, not only in the fit and the feel, but like for some people, like you were describing, and I think I would be the same way, having that spatial awareness and a little bit of the external sound, I would like that as a positive, because I would probably wear them outside or sometimes around the house when I would need to hear if something's happening. And I think that'd be a positive. I saw a lot of people listing that as a reason not to buy them, because they wanted to have the noise cancellation, to be completely zoned out, if you're wearing them on an airplane or whatever. There's just so much variation in what people are looking for, what people like, that these are just a hard product to review in like a universal way. It's not about benchmarks or specs or how fast it is or how easy it is to hold or whatever. It's just a very personal kind of product. So I thought that was interesting that you were citing that too as a positive. And clearly Google tried to position it as a positive, but I think a lot of reviewers kind of latched onto it as a negative.
Totally. I do appreciate, I actually like how the 75Ts seal out everything, and that coupled with the fact that the speakers inside just sound so good, particularly on the low end. So when I get an actual sound improvement as a result of it, I'm more likely to be okay with the fact that they're very isolating, and maybe that gives them a different use case. Maybe I use those on an airplane, whereas I might not use any that let in environmental sound on an airplane if we ever fly again. But with the Pixel Buds having that spatial vent and still having a really great sound, I'm okay with the trade-off. It doesn't let in all noise outside of the earbuds either. It lets in a little bit more than I'm used to, and I'm okay with that. Safer that way, I think, when I'm out running or riding a bike or whatever. I don't want to be totally sealed off. So,
and the assistant can hear everything you're doing. So, perfect.
Yeah, it fired off at one point, and I thought for sure it heard this girl that was up playing out in her yard across the street, because suddenly it let me pull up a playlist in YouTube Music of some soothing music. I'm like, what the hell just happened? I went in and looked at my voice recordings later and realized it wasn't a voice recording, so it didn't pick up anything in the environment. It was probably a butt dial. So my phone was in my pocket, and it probably, I don't know what happened, but my phone was having a good time and decided it wanted to play some soothing music, and it pulled it up on YouTube Music. I thought that was interesting. It chose YouTube Music, so there you go.
Your butt has very distinct preferences. It knows what it wants. Yeah. What can you say?
Yes, it was tired of running. It wanted to relax.
Yeah.
It didn't pick the good music app though. That's the one thing. It might have preferences, but not a good quality app choice. So.
But not good preferences.
Well, it's kind of an ass. What can you say?
Very
All right.
good.
Well, that's a great moment to pause and thank our first sponsor of this episode. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Hover. And listen, this is a vulnerable time for us all. And honestly, we need each other more than ever. So this is a great time to stay in touch by creating a domain name that represents you. Hover has over 400 domain name extensions to choose from. So when you're building your brand online, you've got tons of choices. No matter what you want to build, there's a domain name waiting for it. And, I've been, playing this internet game for over 20 years now, and I've been buying domains since the late 90s. And let me tell you, it used to be very, very difficult to purchase and maintain your domains. And one of my biggest frustrations with the old domain name registrars with their websites were not easy to navigate. They were hard to use. If you weren't truly a network operations sysop type guy, you'd be lost. But luckily, Hover came in and took care of that. And they've got this great, clean user interface that makes it real easy for you to purchase new domains and maintain them, and get everything that you need to get your brand online. And really, Hover is a jumping off point for many entrepreneurs, and they want you to start your business with a domain name that truly showcases who you are. You'll find excellent technical support available to answer any questions you may have, and their support team doesn't upsell you. They only work hard to help you get online, which is great. When you're having a problem, the last thing you want is upsell, and Hover knows that, and they just want to help you and solve your problems. So Hover's got a lot of great things. Just a short list of the great things you get with Hover. Free Whois privacy protection, which if you've ever registered a domain and didn't get the privacy protection, you know how important that is. So Free Whois privacy protection. As I mentioned, the clean and easy navigate user interface and user experience. They've got monthly sales on popular top-level domains. So with all those reasons, it's not hard to see why Hover is a popular choice for people starting all kinds of businesses online. Keeping your domain name separate from hosting gives you the flexibility to choose the right platform for your business, and that is a key thing. You want to keep your domain name stuff separate from your hosting. Church and state, keep them separated, and Hover is a great option to do that with. So use a domain name that truly represents you and your passion. Visit hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for that entire first year. That's hover.com/twit for 10% off your domain extension for a full year. And we thank Hover for their support and making a good product and making it easy to use the internet. Thanks, Hover.
Thank you, Hover. Appreciate you guys. All right, let's move on to some hardware. Got a lot of it today.
I feel bad talking about this first story because I feel like Flo has got the monopoly on Rick Osterloh content.
Oh, that's
but sure enough, good friend Rick Osterloh, senior VP of hardware at Google, is feeding into the Pixel 4a hype. It's pretty amazing. He tweeted a screenshot of his Fitbit app, and everybody assumes it was taken on a 4A. And this is because the notification bar has an offset clock to make room for a hole punch camera, which is expected on the 4A. The font set reflects a pixel theme, and the aspect ratio of the screenshot is easily scalable to the leaked resolution of 2340 by 1080. So listen, there's some great detectives out there who are analyzing Rick Osterloh's screenshots. A YouTube channel called Techno-Like Plus reportedly used the Pixel 4a to snap a number of shots. Single 12 megapixel camera, same one from the Pixel 3a and 4. Excellent low light and night mode, dynamic range shots, and astrophotography as well. And then finally, a third little bit of Google Pixel 4a hype. A German tech site called Kashish blog tips May 22nd as the release date for the Pixel 4a, which is not far off at all. And this is based on internal docs from Vodafone, who is a mobile carrier over in Europe, and it's likely revealed days before, so really could be any time now, as we are in the beginning of May. So, JR, what do you make of these things? Do you think that these this little detective work on Rick Osterloh reveals confirmation of some of the specs of the 4A, or what's your take on this hype?
I mean, it sure seems to line up. Yeah, no doubt about it. Call me crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was less of a slip up on his behalf and more of a deliberate wonder if anybody's going to pick this up, because Google does this kind of stuff a lot. And I mean, he's the head of hardware. He's putting it out on Twitter at a time when he knows everyone's expecting this phone, because everyone is expecting it around Google I/O. It's a good way to build buzz. It worked. It got people talking, whether it was intentional or not. But yeah, it all adds up. And I'm actually really excited to see what this phone ends up being, because as we were kind of touching on earlier, I think for a lot of people nowadays, the mid-range phones in this sort of $400, $500, maybe up to $600 price range are really where it's at. You get that combination of value, of quality. You're not giving up on much other than the niceties that, let's be honest, phone nerds like us are going to appreciate, but the vast majority of just like average Joes out there are not going to even notice or care about. I mean, and on the Pixel A line, assuming this follows suit with the 3A, which all signs suggest it will, is probably going to have top-notch camera. It's probably going to get 3 years of timely ongoing software support. So that alone, that the software support makes the value of it just so much better. You do like a little math, it comes out to being, if you keep it for the full 3 years, it's getting active software updates. It's perfectly secure, topmost, performance, privacy, getting all the updates imaginable. It's like $11 a month. And then you compare that to an $800 phone, a $1,000 phone, most of which are getting updates for maybe 2 years, if you're lucky, really late at that. And it's crazy. So I think this could, if Google doesn't screw something up and give us a reason not to buy it, this could really be the one to watch this year. I'm excited to see if it ends up being as interesting as we think.
Do you think that it might be like Star Trek movies?
In what regard?
Every other movie is a good one?
Oh. That does hold true with phones a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's
so
an
like
interesting point. Yeah.
I guess the 4A, 3A. Did we have a 2A? What started with the A's?
No, 3A's.
3 was
3A was first.
So there's only this is the second one, is it? Oh wow! For some reason I thought there was a 4A already. No, there wasn't. We're not on the Google 5 hasn't even come out yet. Oh my God! I've lost track of time.
You've been in place sheltering for far too long. Yeah.
I just feel like we've been talking about the 4A for so long that it's already been out. But so maybe.
The point stands, because the 3A was generally considered to be really good. There wasn't a whole lot left to ask for with it. So that's a good question. I mean, a lot of people weren't thrilled with the 4, the main Pixel 4, the regular Pixel 4. So, I mean, I think most of the problems people had with the Pixel 4 were battery life related. And in general, the A line tends to be a little less battery heavy, in terms of using battery than the.
That's what I was getting hung up on. The Pixel 4 was not well received. That's where I was coming from. That's what it is.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, so then maybe it's a TikTok release. Maybe now only the A's are good and the regulars are bad, which would follow the line of the Star Trek. 3A good, Pixel 4 bad. 4A good, Pixel 5 bad. I don't actually truly believe that, but who knows? Maybe that will prove itself true. I don't see how Google could really mess up the 4A, considering they got the design based on the leaks. They got the design pretty solid, as far as I'm concerned. Like one thing I really liked about the 3A is they did a really great job of replicating what I like about Pixel devices, modern Pixel devices, even in plastic case. It still felt like it wasn't plastic, like light glass, and I thought they did a good job. And they nailed the camera, because how could they not? It's the same damn camera. So that's the value proposition. And $400, they got the price right as well. And everything seems to point to the 4A kind of following in those footsteps. I think the 4A is going to do or going to present a very great phone within the 4A. Whether it'll be popular compared to the competition, I suppose that remains to be seen. But
they'd have to work hard to screw it up. I hate to say they won't, because you never know. We've seen devices that sound so awesome on paper, and then there's something you don't expect wrong with it. But yeah, it seems like it should be a hit. And I'll be the contrarian too. I have a Pixel 4. I don't think it's as bad as it was initially made out to be. It's not the best battery life in the world.
It was just kind of boring. It was just boring compared to.
Phone isn't boring nowadays, though. They're all boring in terms of the hardware. But I don't think the 4 was as bad as it was made out to be, having owned it and used it as my own personal phone for a while. It's
agreed.
If you're looking for like note level battery life, it's not a huge phone. It's not going to match that. But I think it's very much in line with what previous Pixel phones have had in terms of stamina. So I think it got a little bit of a bad rap, maybe unnecessarily so. But either way,
Robot in chat brings up a good question for you. Soli, what What is
I
the
forgot
long-term
about
view
Soli.
Exactly. You forgot
There it
about
is.
Soli, because who the heck uses Soli? I know some people out there will email saying, hey, I use Soli. I don't even think about that feature. I wish it wasn't there. Like, maybe that would have lowered the price.
Email us. Please, show us how you use it, because we're still trying to figure it out.
I stopped trying to figure it out. I just don't care about it. Give me a reason to care about it, and I will care about it. But at this point, it's the reasons that they've given us, just it isn't compelling to me. It's not a compelling use case.
It wasn't compelling for the amount of money that you'd be spending for a Pixel 4.
Totally.
Because the Pixel 4 is a good phone, but not for the price range that they were asking initially. I mean, now you can find it much cheaper than when it came out, but
yeah.
I think the technology behind it is compelling, or could be compelling.
Sure,
when we first
Could
heard
be.
about it and we saw the demos of how it had been used, I was so optimistic that it would just be like this transformative, awesome, cool thing. But yeah, I agree. In practice, it's way too limited. It's like every now and then convenient if I'm working out or something and my phone's there and I just do the little hand thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, more often than not, I activate it by accident when I'm reaching for my phone or doing something, and then it skips a song. And you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Want to do that.
It should be
So,
in the
yeah.
smart displays, as far as I'm concerned. It shouldn't even be in a phone, but that's neither here nor there.
I
Well,
will,
and we
I will
kept
give
hearing-
you that.
With Soli too, we kept hearing at the beginning, this is just the start. There are going to be updates. There's going to be more. They added in one little thing, but so far it's been a little disappointing. And I've been thinking about, one of these days I'll write about this to see where's all that promise of everything it could do and all the updates. I mean, maybe they're holding that for the Pixel 5 now. I don't know. But yeah, so far it's been cool framework that doesn't feel like it's been reached its potential yet in any really meaningful, more than just
or even
minor.
come close in any capacity to its potential.
Yeah.
I realized as we were talking about it, I do use one Soli feature almost every day, and that is when I put one of my girls to bed and it's dark in the room. I set my phone on their dresser, and then it's dark in the room. And then when I get up to leave, I don't know exactly where on the dresser my phone is, but when I start to reach my hand there, the light lights up, right? Because the Soli recognizes that your hand is coming towards it, and it lights up the ambient display. And I just realized now, oh, wait a minute, that's a Soli feature that I use every night that I'm really happy is there, because otherwise it'd be like, oh, where's that? Oh, there it is. Instead, I know that when I reach my hand out, it's just going to turn on. So, but is that worth the cost of the radar and all of the brouhaha around the
Yes,
technology?
which is why the 4A won't have it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And the 4A
It's
is
one of
gonna
those
cost
kind of
$400.
novel, kind of neat. Yeah. And then also with the face unlock, it causes it to kick in a little quicker than it would just
That's
with the
true.
motion sensors or whatever. But still, is it worth all of that just to have it in? It's one of those things you probably wouldn't miss it if you didn't have it, even though it's kind of a little neat to have sometimes, maybe.
I mean, with Face Unlock, maybe we would miss it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I've gotten really used to my Face Unlock, and how slow would it be without it? I'd be curious to have some way to deactivate Soli. Maybe there's an app or something I can deactivate Soli and see the time difference with the Face Unlock without it versus with. I wonder if that's possible, but who knows?
Well,
maybe we're talking.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say you can activate. There's the option for lift to wake, so you still get that. But I think that takes a little bit, a split second longer. So yeah, I guess the question is how much of a active real world difference you're going to notice. Yeah,
totally. Flo, so the order that I went with, Ron, I gave Flo the Samsung one because in my head she's still, the leader of the Samsung fan club, even though that's years ago.
Sure. Well, so here's a question. There's a question though, Flo. If you had to prioritize your allegiance, would it be Samsung or Rick Osterloh? Who
Rick Osterloh.
Desert Island choice.
Rick Osterloh.
Okay.
So you want to be stuck on a desert island with Rick Osterloh rather than all of Samsung?
You know what? I have talked to Rick Osterloh, and I can confirm that he would be a very interesting person to talk to and to keep me entertained if we were both stuck on a deserted island. So
yeah, he's a funny guy.
Whereas a Samsung phone could not provide that kind of conversation.
Or the entire
especially not with
company
Bixby.
Yeah, that's the better question. Rick Osterloh or Bixby? Easy answer.
Oh, that's easy.
Anyways,
easy.
Flo,
Now,
you got the next
but
one.
we are talking about $400 phones, and of course, this is becoming a really hot category to kind of shop from. So of course it makes sense that Samsung would kind of like come in and say, hey, now we've got something to give you here too. So Samsung's own $400 mid-ranger, the Galaxy A51, is getting a wider US release. Previously, it was just on Verizon, but now it will be on Sprint, AT&T, and for sale on Amazon and Samsung.com. Inside, it's got an Exynos 9611 chip, which is roughly equivalent to a Snapdragon 835. That's a chip from 2017. Still not too bad for $400 mid-ranger, but also not incredibly ideal for 2020, considering what you would be getting what you'd be getting, I guess, in an iPhone or...
Yeah, the iPhone SE, top of the line.
Or what you might be getting in the Pixel 4a. 6.5-inch display, 2400 by 1080. OLED in there with an in-screen fingerprint sensor. 128 gigs of storage, so pretty good. 4 gigs of RAM, 15 watts fast charge. Ron Amadio from Ars Technica points out that the A51 has a 2017 processor and modern design versus the iPhone SE, which has a 2017 design and 2020 specs. So I guess you could just think about it from that perspective. 4 rear cameras on this one, 4,000 milliamp battery, and a headphone jack, which is becoming a little less of a commodity these days. So Samsung's throwing something into the ring, and for some, as I was initially saying, that processor maybe won't be such a big deal, but for others, maybe compared to what it's going up against, it might seem like, what are you doing for $400? Just give us something a little, a little beefier. Why not?
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, this whole price category is now suddenly very competitive. We're starting to see the real differentiators, the ones that pull away from the pack in the $400 category. Like it or not, the iPhone SE really set a lot of eyeballs on this price category, and the comparison will always be now going forward for the near-term future. Well, iPhone can do for $400 give you their highest end, most powerful processor inside. Well, the 3A was running the most. It was running a.
No, I'm sorry. I meant to say
a lesser processor, right?
I mean, okay, so we're talking about like each of these phones has to have that je ne sais quoi, right? So
Got it. Okay, I know.
Pixel 3A was like, we have the best camera at this price point. And then the iPhone's like, we have the best performance at this price point. And I guess Samsung's coming and saying, we have the best everything else. Like, we'll give you space, we'll give you battery, we'll give you a headphone jack, we'll give you a nice big screen. But maybe that processor, we're gonna, roll it back a little bit with a chip from the archives kind of thing. So
yes, and good luck ever getting updates, by the way, if anybody pays attention to that, because you're never going to get them on that phone.
And that's the really frustrating thing, JR, is that a lot of these phones will be kind of, sold to people who want to save some money, right? Okay, so they don't want to drop all that money on a flagship, but maybe they're not going to necessarily be privy to the fact that they're not getting all the updates that they need. That's like the biggest problem that I still have is telling people that you need to update this. You need to stop ignoring your iPhone prompts to update your phone. Stop ignoring the prompts on your Android device because there's critical updates there. That's a really, for us, it's a big deal, but I worry that for a lot of other folks, it's just going to kind of fly over the head. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh yeah, most people are woefully ignorant of that because it's no surprise. Samsung and the companies that have everybody's attention don't want to emphasize that because it's not in their interest. They don't make money by sending out updates.
Why are you interrupting my life to update my phone? And it's like.
Well, I think there's a layer of that where people, and I saw it, my sister kind of had this where I saw her Samsung phone and, it had this persistent notification about an update. And I asked her about it. And she's like, I don't want to update. I don't want my phone to change. I want it to stay the way it is.
Ooh,
and so they're hesitant to update because, yes, there might be security features that are updated, but they like their phone the way it is. They don't want to suddenly reboot and find everything all in different places and have to relearn it again. And so she's like, no, I refuse to do that. I've done that before and had things things changed, and I didn't like it. So it's like, oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
We were conditioned by years and years of bad Windows updates too. Everybody's scared, rightfully so, scared of what's going to happen.
Yep. What happens? Let's see here. What else? Fairphone. And apparently my notes did not make it into the doc, but that's okay. Fairphone 3 came out last year, and now it's getting a new version of the release with, and I don't know how you say this. Is it the E team or the /E/ team? I don't know how you say that. But anyways, it's an open source project. Essentially what this means is that the Fairphone is going to be re-released with EOS, which is a fork of Android that essentially removes all of Google's apps and services from the experience and then replaces it with open source alternatives, as well as connecting some of Google's services APIs into E's own cloud services and different replacements. So if you're looking for, the Fairphone is like a sustainable phone brand, let's say. That's kind of their focus. With this, it's sustainable and secure. It's like, I don't want Google in my business, so I'm going to get this so that I can run a version of Android that doesn't have Google in my business anymore. And I trust open source, and I trust, the E open source project. But you might also end up missing out on certain things. For example, like push notifications. You might not get that unless a developer actually integrates a third-party push notification alternative into it, because without the hooks into the Google API, apparently that's just not going to happen. So there would be some trade-offs. But apparently this is going to come out in a matter of days, I think.
I like the crossover of audience there, where like if I'm someone who doesn't want Google on my phone and I want my phone to be sustainable, like that's a Venn diagram of an audience I didn't know was out there. And so I'm glad that Fairphone and E-Team are teaming up for this, because, I'm sure that there are hundreds of people who want this.
Many couple of hundreds of people. No,
I mean, it is a very specific niche audience that they're targeting, aren't they? Yeah. So.
Sure. But anyways, kind of an interesting effort, especially when we talk about it like a company like Huawei that is being forced to not have Google apps and services. And, it's easy to look at them and point fingers and be like, dead in the water. That's never going to work in the US market or other markets, maybe outside of China, whatever. And then you have Fairphone, which is deliberately doing it because maybe that's a feature, that people are looking for. So that's the thing about Android, right? It goes in all directions, and that Venn diagram is going to cross in many different ways, like you mentioned, Ron. And those couple hundred people, they've got a phone for them. So there we go. All right, you got the last one, Ron.
All right. So, in terms of planning the doc, Flo got her Samsung story and I got the Motorola story, which is nice. Although, not much here to say because, JR, this is pretty much about your article. But last week we talked about the Motorola Edge, and your article talks about the update on the promise for the phone. So I'm curious what your take is on Motorola and their re-entry into the flagship phone arena.
Yeah, I'm kind of on a soapbox here today. I feel like everything's been coming back around to this update issue.
I love it.
Kind of one of my
That's what we missed. We've needed you back on the show for.
Yeah. So the article title, if you saw it on the screen, was the 2 words Motorola doesn't want you to read or want you to hear or something like that. And the 2 words are one update. The Motorola Edge Plus, $1,000 phone, comes with a single Android operating system update. They say it'll get Android 11, the Android operating system update coming out late summer, early fall, sometime, God knows when. Motorola is usually just horribly, horribly slow and late about it. But after that, you're done. You're not going to get any other OS updates. $1,000 phone. And it's going to be outdated in a matter of months, not just, again, in terms of interface and features and the surface level stuff, but in terms of privacy, security, performance. All these things are integrated into operating system updates. Like we look at the last couple Android releases have had really big changes in terms of privacy, in terms of protecting your information in different ways, letting you scale back when apps are able to access your location instead of just this binary all or never kind of thing. You could say only when they're in the foreground. There's important stuff going on there, and you're going to get one update and then be done. And so when we think about the value of a phone, this phone isn't going to be advisable to use pretty quick down its lifespan. It's going to be outdated. And I mean, honestly, there's just no justification for anyone to buy this phone. And I was kind of shocked when I read all the reviews about it that the vast majority of them focused on everything but that and didn't even mention that. Or if it did, it was kind of like a little tiny footnote at the end of the article. And to me, that is the one thing you should know. If there's anything you should know about the phone, it's that. Going back to what Flo said earlier about updates and people's awareness, that's the problem. Is I wish everybody could be aware of this, because there are going to be people who walk into their, well, in theory, if people are able to walk into a Verizon store, if not look at their Verizon store's website and see it catches their eye, it's advertised, it's marketed. If it's in a store, the associates might be trained to push you toward it because it's a Verizon exclusive, and they probably have some business arrangement where they're encouraged to do that. And people just buy it without having any idea the longer term ramifications, what it says about value, the fact that by the end of this year, their phone's going to basically be dead in the water in terms of getting updated with things. And it's just a damn shame, because Motorola was once such a force in Android at different points in the original Droid days and then the kind of Google-owned glory days. And we just kind of have to remember, it literally is a very different company now. And I think we're kind of seeing this here. And we saw little signs of this starting last year with their Moto Z whatever phone. It wasn't quite a flagship in terms of price. It was their top of the line, and they did something like this. But to do it now with $1,000 phone is just inexcusable to me.
Well, that was the point I wanted to make. I've covered a lot more Motorola than the rest of the crew, just through happenstance, not through any sort of brand loyalty or anything like that. But the past 2 to 3 years, I've really enjoyed the Moto G line and what they've done in the mid-range and how they brought the phone really close to stock Android, with some minor Motorola magic with the camera and things like that, just kind of, minor product differentiators. But for the most part, kind of leaned into what makes Android so great and made affordable phones. And it almost seems, in the opposite direction of a decision like this, both in terms of going the flagship route and also not, this kind of direction with the updates. It just seems like a weird, kind of knee-jerk opposite reaction kind of that's going on that I don't quite understand.
Yeah, I'm sure there's part of it that's just financial. It takes money to do this. Motorola probably doesn't, they're not rolling in the dough right now, and maybe they figure research probably, I'd imagine, shows them it's not going to hurt their sales to not do it. So what the hell? Why not? But it just is a shame to see, because like you said, they've done so much, even in their current incarnation with Lenovo leading the charge. Software-wise, experience-wise, they still do some really cool stuff. And their hardware, they've always made nice devices. And the Moto G line, like you said, even the Moto E line, they've done some really interesting stuff at different price points. And this just kind of kills it, though. It's just a shame.
Yeah, it really does. And you don't want to get J.R. Raphael on your case when it comes to updates, because he's the man.
He's got a soapbox. He's got a soapbox, and he'll use it.
Got a soapbox.
That's right. Not afraid to stand on it. And yell loudly from my basement if I need to.
Yells at the cloud. Yells at the cloud. Okay, let's take a break. Thank the sponsor, and then we are going to get back to more hardware news. There was just so much hardware this week that we had to split up into 2 segments. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by ExpressVPN. We're all stuck at home. You're stuck at home these days, so you probably don't think very much about internet privacy on your own home network. You're just using the internet all the time. Maybe you aren't thinking about private browsing, privately, securely, making sure that your browsing is yours and doesn't, that data doesn't belong to your ISP. Well, you can fire up incognito mode on your browser, and no one can see what you're doing, right? No, it doesn't work like that. That's wrong. Even in incognito mode, your online activity can still be traced. Even if you clear your browsing history, your internet service provider can see every single website you've ever visited. That's why, even when you're home, you don't want to go online without using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN makes sure your ISP can't see what sites you visit. Instead, your internet connection is rerouted through ExpressVPN secure servers. Each ExpressVPN server has an IP address that's shared among thousands of users. That means everything you do is anonymized and can't be traced back to you. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your data with best-in-class encryption, so your information is always protected. So you can use the internet with confidence from your computer, from your tablet, from your smartphone. All of them support ExpressVPN. They have apps, have you covered on every device. Simply tap one button and you're protected. It's really that easy. ExpressVPN is the fastest and most trusted VPN on the market. It's rated #1 by CNET, Wired, The Verge, and countless more. So protect your online activity today with the VPN that I use and trust to secure my privacy. Visit our special link, expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid, and you can get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid. Take a look at ExpressVPN, see what it's all about, and get 3 months free extra on a 1-year package. expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid to learn more. And we thank them for their continued support of the Twit Network and All About Android. All right, more hardware. Throwing the ball over to you, Flo. That's a bumper. Oh,
that's why I kind of stopped for a second, because there was something going on the screen that I wasn't quite sure of.
Burke's doing the video bumper, but definitely not the music this time.
Right. Well, I'm sorry I didn't fill it in for all of those of you listening and watching at home. So we've got to give LG some kudos for launching phones in time of a pandemic. Next week is the official release of the LG Velvet, which we briefly talked about, I believe, last week on the show, just kind of teased you about it. Well, now it's coming. It's coming full force. So it's actually coming ahead of time. LG unveiled the full specs. It's got a 6.8-inch OLED display, Snapdragon 765 with 5G capabilities, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, and micro SD slot. The raindrop camera design is there on the back. That's a 48 megapixel main, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel depth sensor. So it's going to help just make those photos of the inside of your house look nice and three-dimensional. 16 megapixel front-facing camera, so quite a bit of resolution there for your pores. 4300 milliamp battery, as well as a headphone jack and stereo speakers. I wouldn't be surprised if we would hear some audio capabilities on this phone, as we do on the LG V60 ThinQ. It'll be available in black, white, teal, and pink, all of which are kind of a slightly different design variation than maybe what LG has going on with the V series. Now, Juan Bagnell is going to be here next week. He is a self-proclaimed LG superfan. I have had talks with him about LG's trajectory and just like what they're doing in the phone business. So I am really looking forward to having him here next week when this phone is officially launched. And he's going to be here to talk about it and give us a little more insight on this really pretty phone and LG's second phone release in the time of coronavirus. So
there's an LG superfan? Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
it happens.
Good.
It's because LG is one of the few manufacturers that actually kind of give little kudos to the really niche users out there. So like with the V series in particular, there's a lot of there's a lot of video features that are kind of catered to folks who have videos, part of their trade. There's also a lot of audio features for audiophiles and folks who like to, kind of use their phone for entertainment purposes. So, I mean, it's too bad LG doesn't get more TV and billboard time, because there are actually some very compelling things about its phones. And I think this year they're starting to kind of like buckle down on what they're launching and what they're doing. So instead of having like a big flagship release alongside like the Galaxy series, they're kind of just saying, here's this really niche high-powered phone. Here's this really cute affordable phone, which I'm assuming is what the LG Velvet is going to be. So again, second phone launch in time of coronavirus.
They just can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
This, when no one's buying phones right now. So
no.
11% slump.
But again, we're seeing the Snapdragon 765 emerge as the processor of choice, which is becoming a theme of this year, especially as in this this growing mid-tier for 2020 anyways. We're going to see a lot of phones unveiling with choosing the 765 actively instead of the 865. 865, ends up leading to phones that cost more than $1,000. It requires an extra purchase of that 5G modem. 765 has that 5G modem built in to the chip, so it's included, and it's powerful enough for a lot of what people are doing. So more and more we're going to see this. I mean, even the Pixel 5 is expected to have the 765 instead of the 865 processor. So, yeah, I'm curious to see this phone though. Velvet. It's a nice name. It's very descriptive of what you see. It's a nice, smooth-looking phone. I like the design of it.
I was kind of hoping it'd be velvet though on the back.
It would actually be velvet.
Come on.
That'd be something.
Missed opportunity,
I mean,
LG.
Honestly, we know that Mateo would be all over it. I think the Velvet phone would go very far. I think that they're missing these opportunities left and right. I think they need to listen to Flo and the style consultant of Android.
Right. Yeah, it's too bad that Samsung didn't put a velvet cover on their camera of the S20 Ultra, because apparently a lot of owners of the S20 Ultra, I'm not one of them reporting this. My camera module is looking all right on this thing.
God, it's so big.
Yeah, it is
much
big.
Camera.
It also has a case right now, the D30 case. God, which one is this? A Gear 4 case. So this thing is meant to take like a serious beating, the case that's on it right now. But it's protecting the camera layer, or the camera bump, which protrudes pretty far on this phone. And a lot of users are actually reporting that they're finding, through no foul play, they didn't drop their phone, they didn't slam into something with it in their pocket that they know of. Many users are reporting that protruded camera bump is suddenly just smashing. Oof. And not in a typical spiderweb sort of way. A lot of them are reporting it almost looks like a bullet hole or something. It's just like, it's like it implodes.
A sinkhole.
So, yeah, a sinkhole around the camera. It's really ugly. So apparently this is happening, and there's a lot of users.
I would be so mad if I spent so much money on an S20 Ultra and this happened. What is this?
Yeah, this is like a $1,500 phone, $1,500 phone.
What? That's not okay. This is like exploding power bricks.
I mean, look at that. That'd be so depressing. Just look at it.
I would be so upset.
I don't know what I would do. That's insane. Because the thing is that
repair it?
What's so funny is that we're so used to seeing people with shattered displays, and you kind of you shrug it off and you kind of say, oh, they dropped their phone or whatever. Right. But that, Jason, to your point, that literally looks like a bullet hole.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I mean, with a shattered display, yeah, I could take it. But this, that's just depressing. I mean, a shattered display is depressing too. But this looks like somebody killed your phone, and I don't like seeing.
Stabbed it
Oh, poor
How could
Samsung
you?
Galaxy S20 Ultra.
Why was her number in your phone?
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe we aren't getting the full story on why these cameras are.
I mean, somebody could have been, practicing infidelity, and that's what happens.
Okay. We come up with some stories here. I mean, I'm actually looking close at the one that I have right now, and the one that's in the picture that is imploded, that looks like a volcano. That lens, that's a really deep hole before it gets to the lens. The lens is not right up near the surface. So I don't know. Maybe there's something about the fact that that's an empty space between the lens and the top of the glass. And that's a weak point to push through, depending on, you know what I mean? Now that I look at it and I compare it against what I'm seeing in this picture, I'm afraid to push on that area. I feel like if I just, okay, let's see what I can do here. No, I'm not going to actually do it. But I feel like I probably
Glassgate 2020. I think we need a name for it. This needs to be a gate, doesn't it?
It does. It really needs a gate. I feel like if I pushed really hard right there, it would break. But yeah, no duh. If I went like this, it would probably break too.
JR has a point, though. It's not a real issue unless it's a gate.
Yeah.
It's true.
You got to work on that. Let's brand it, people.
Yeah, it's camera glass gate. That's too long. I don't know. We need some sort of gate definition.
S20 Ultra camera gate. No, that's
Get Google's branding people on the line. They'll come up with something quick.
Maybe
And then
Ultra-gate.
change
Ultra-gate.
it 3 weeks later.
Ultra-gate. That's pretty good. Ultra-gate is
Ultra-gate.
nice.
Yeah.
So I wonder, can this be repaired? Like, will shops, the You Break, I Fix, those kind of places get like glass replacements that they could put in there? Or are you just kind of screwed? How bad is this?
No, I think I read that you can get it replaced. Samsung phone warranty does not cover this because they consider it cosmetic damage. And so the investigation is happening right now to look into, all right, what was the real cause of these things? Because a lot of people, the people that it's happening with are saying, hey, this is a defect. Like, this shouldn't just happen. And I think Samsung is pushing back on that. So, but I do think that you can get it fixed. You can get it replaced. I have to imagine it's expensive.
That's not okay that Samsung is pushing back. That's not consumer friendly.
Yeah.
Well, for a mere $899, you can get a new piece of glass on that. That piece.
I mean, imagine if Apple did this. If Apple was like, sorry, it's cosmetic. Don't even bother coming into the Apple store. Not that you could right now anyway, but theoretically, if you could. I mean, that's not. Yeah. I don't understand how that could be cosmetic. I'm sorry.
It's not. But
that's insane.
Just because there's some space where all the cameras lie does not mean that it's cosmetic. Okay, it's still. This is.
I mean, now the more I look at it, the more I'm freaked because I realize what is so different about that one camera lens compared to the rest. The rest, it looks like there's no real space there, but that one camera, it looks like there's like a nice air pocket between, and I could see why that might happen.
Push it hard.
I know, I'm so tempted. So tempted. No, I won't do it. Ron, you got the next one.
I do, and this one's about one of my favorite companies, OnePlus. The OnePlus Z. OnePlus Z, letter Z, is expected to be running the Snapdragon 765G, the upper mid-range processor that embeds its 5G modem on the chip. It's a big cost savings over the Snapdragon 865 that requires an additional 5G modem. As you can imagine, having having the 5G modem included on the chip makes it less things on the board, less components. It just all around helps get the cost of the BOM, as they call it in the hardware game. It brings that down lower, the bill of materials. Remember that the Pixel 5 is also expected to have this chip, according to leaks. So it looks like the OnePlus Z might be a Pixel 5 competitor.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what OnePlus does with the Z. Recall the OnePlus X. I think it was the X, right? Before, where they dipped their toe into the mid-range and then didn't seem to do it again. And again, we come back to this theme. This seems to be a theme throughout this show. It's the right time for the mid-range right now, and they're all presenting something that might be pretty compelling to fill that gap. And OnePlus is no stranger to that as well. Especially now that OnePlus is kind of like firmly departed from their value the comfort zone that they've been in for years. Now they actually have the premium smartphone, and so they need their mid-range counterpart.
I have a quick question to pose, which may be a little too deep for right now, but I'm just thinking, my gears are sort of turning here as I'm thinking about the new high unemployment rate, the new rising unemployment rate in the United States, and I'm just thinking about all these mid-range phones and what the graphs will look like at the end of this year going into next year with these particular phones. And oh my God, like what coincidental, or I guess serendipitous timing to have these kind of coming out, vying for people's dollars at a time when the luxury of the $1,000 phone is probably not going to be a luxury that's immediately considered the way it used to be, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. I think that's kind of the emerging reality of what we'll probably see over the next year. And who knows if that's longer than that, possibly so. But yeah, I think that and that's exactly why I completely agree with you. That's why I think it's interesting to see all of these strong mid-range competitors kind of coming out, or, a lot of mid-range options that actually are appealing, because the timing is right for it. People just aren't going to have the money that they maybe had to drop on a premium smartphone, and they'll be willing to accept less performance, but good enough performance, as the alternative. Why? Because out of necessity, because they quite simply can't buy $1,000 phone right now.
And honestly, guys, not everybody is like running mission control from their phone like we do.
Yeah.
So
true.
all that
Totally.
power that comes in these phones, for a lot of people, it's like they never really get that sort of use out of it. They're not playing those high-end games. A lot of people just want a really good camera and the ability to kind of play, 4 different versions of Candy Crush at the same time. Like,
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's really maybe what the demand is, and more. It's a little less than what we think it is. So.
Yep.
I think that's a really interesting point too, Flo, because we've talked a lot here about the different things, the different ways we might emerge from this whole pandemic, kind of having gotten used to the way we've been doing things and sticking with them, whether it's, ordering groceries online more, doing more of the curbside pickup, doing at-home workouts instead of going to a gym. And then suddenly you say, like, that isn't so bad. I could kind of do it. And then you just kind of get in the habit and keep doing it. And you realize who knows? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But there's a possibility in a lot of areas I think people might not miss what they used to do, and you kind of get in the groove. And with this too, to your point about a lot of people not noticing the difference necessarily, or needing the difference in horsepower from a mid-range to a high-end phone. My wife had previously had, what would it have been? It must have been the first generation Pixel, and then she got the Pixel 3A. And someone like her, just a typical phone user, like you said, she's not playing high-end games, she's not doing crazy stuff, just normal stuff, taking pictures, browsing the web, looking at Instagram, whatever. I don't think she was aware of the difference, be going from, the high-end flagship to the mid-range. Because I kind of quizzed her about it, because I was really curious, paying attention to this stuff in the way we do. And she said, I don't know, it's fine. Doesn't seem any different. I don't know. I think that's how most people are. And so there's a chance that if somebody just maybe one-off says, well, I'll try this mid-range phone this year and see, maybe a year or 2 years, whenever they're next in the market for a new phone later, they say, why bother paying $1,000 again when I can get this really good phone for $400, $500. It'll be interesting to see how that shifts preferences and how much of it does stick after this is all over.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. It could at least, semi-permanently change some buying habits as far as that's concerned. People be like, oh, wait a minute, I don't need the fully spec'd phone. I really don't. Even though, we've kind of been led to believe, and I'm certainly guilty of it, that you want the most that your phone could ever possibly do. But do you need it? Once we started seeing like RAM of like 12 gigs on a phone, I'm like, okay, but do I need of course I'll take it, but do I really need it? Is it necessary? No, it probably isn't. Yeah. Lawrence writes to AAA at twit.tv and says, just heard your comment about the new Pixel 2 buds. Well, they're not the Pixel Buds 2, let's put it that way. And Google Assistant integration. Lawrence says, I might not be understanding what your restriction is, but when I go walking and listen to podcasts with my Jabra Elite headphones, I have it set so Smart Unlock is on, so my Pixel 4 XL is unlocked. I can then say, hey, G, while I'm walking, and Assistant talks to my headset, and then I can ask, what's the weather, open the garage door, etc. For the latter command, I need a PIN, and then it asks, may I have your security code? When I say it correctly, the door opens. That, to me, is sufficient integration with Assistant and the headset. I'm not sure what the Pixel Buds 2 would provide in terms of enhanced functionality in this area. And I played around with this because I had not explored this on my Jabra Elite 75Ts or my 65Ts. I don't normally run with Smart Unlock on connected to like a Bluetooth device. Smart Unlock is a feature in Android that allows you to say, when my phone connects to, for example, the Jabra Elite 75Ts via Bluetooth, then that is a trusted device. That tells the device, my phone, that I am the user, and therefore don't ask me for my PIN when I want to get into my phone. Don't ask me to unlock it. Release the security block on the phone when you're connected to my headphones. So in theory and in practice, I tried this myself. What that means is when you've got Smart Lock on and you're out and about and you've got those headphones in, you can say, hey, G, and because Smart Lock is on, your phone is not locked necessarily, so it hears the command and then it wakes up and essentially does what I was talking about with the Pixel Buds. The Pixel Buds do it differently, though. The Pixel Buds don't remove the security layer on your phone. They do it natively through the earbuds. So there's two things that you get. You get that aspect. You aren't like relieving the security layer on your phone in order to make it happen. And also the command actually fires off, the Hey G command actually fires off through the earbuds and not through the phone. So you might find yourself in a situation when your phone is in a pocket and it can't hear you saying Hey G, it's not going to unlock. At least that was my experience. Maybe yours was different. If so, email me and let me know. With the Pixel Buds, it doesn't matter where my phone is. It's hearing it through here at all times, and it picks up the command easily. So hopefully that explains the difference between the two, Lawrence. I appreciate you writing in. And I guess maybe it is a subtle difference, but it's a difference that I appreciate having the direct access on the Pixel Buds. That's kind of why I like how they do it there. Thank you for writing in, AAA@twit.tv. And now it's time for the arena.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
Oh, yeah. And wow. I didn't realize it's a tie this week, you guys.
Oh,
I saw that earlier. I was wondering if you were like all excited to talk about the tie or not. What is the ruling on a tie for first place? I forget. Don't we both get the points? Maybe Wade County in the chat room can tell us what the point ruling is there while you go over the results.
I can't remember what we've decided to do. I really try when I grab the screenshot. I try my best to not look at the results. I like to discover it on the show when we open it up here.
That's lovely.
Otherwise, I would have recognized, because sometimes I have recognized it. And then when I see this ahead of time, then I go onto Twitter and I say, hey, everybody, go place a vote real quick. I don't say go vote for me. I just say go place a vote. I didn't catch that this time, to try and kind of get it out of tie territory. But we are in tie territory. Stop Motion Studio and Wi-Fi AR both win first place in this week with 36% of the votes each. Second place would be AnyList. That would be Team Guest, right? 13%, almost 14%. And third place is Super Pads. That would be Flows at 12%, 12.5%.
That's okay.
So the ruling on this is that, from Wade County in the chat room, a tie for first gets 4 points, not 5. So technically there's no real winner, which I think is fair and fine. But that's fine. So given that, through 17 weeks of the arena, the results, Jason, with that tie for first place, that firmly puts you in first place with 45 points. Flo is in second place with 42 points. I am sneaking up behind her in third place with 38 points, climbing the charts. And our guests have 31 points overall. So there we are. So Jason handily in first place, although 3 points between him and Flo. She could pass him with a win, So anything can happen.
Anything can happen. We got a lot of year left.
Yeah. And now the chat room is arguing about how to handle a tie, which is the best that we could ask for with this system, which is fantastic. So.
Absolutely. I love that our system literally creates itself over the years. At some point, we inevitably hit a new bump, and it's like, I don't know, what do we do? And then we figure it out in 2 minutes.
Our point system is sentient, so it just matters that we have no control over it. We just watch it happen. So there it is.
Yes, and thank you to Wade County for managing all the scoring of this stuff for us so that we don't have to think about it. We really appreciate all the work that you do. Yeah. All right, Flo, you are up first.
I brought a very, very simple utility today, and it is very, very easy to use. It's for those of you who might be concerned sharing your photos online. Maybe you don't want your location data attached to it. Why would you? Maybe you don't want any of the EXIF data attached to it. That's totally fine. So you would get an app like Scrambled EXIF. Now, if you go to the Play Store, you'll notice that the icon looks a lot like a scrambled egg, which I just think is just clever. Now, this is extremely straightforward app. So what you do is you install it and you give it permissions that it needs. And then you share a photo from the share menu through this particular app. Select this app from the share menu. And then when it shares the photo to whatever app you're sharing it to, it will scrub all that EXIF data. That's it. That's it.
Single-use tool, but very handy.
Single use, that's it.
Is good.
I wanted
Right
to
on.
try and show you a demo, but then that'll require me like going. I mean, I have my screen share, but then it would require me going through my phone and finding a photo. And
Yeah.
I'm
Understood.
kind of wary to what might end up on camera. So just take my word
Understood.
for it.
Scrambled. I mean, it
And-
has a
and,
nice
you know.
picture of a scrambled egg.
Yes.
I think. Hey, sometimes you just want an app that does that one thing really well. And
That
you
is a
wanna know
nice
it's gonna
icon.
work. Yeah.
I like
It
that
works.
icon.
I like
Yeah.
it too. Cool. That is scrambled EXIF. EXIF, if you want to call it that, which is actually how they spell it in the URL, but it's scrambled EXIF, EXIF, if you're searching on Google Play. On the Play Store, not Google Play. What year is this? Okay. JR, you're up next. Now, I tried while Flo was going, I installed your app, so hopefully I can show it off while you talk about it. Burke, there is a screen leap URL. We'll see if it's working for you. But go ahead and tell us about your app, JR, and I'll see if I can show it off. And if not, we can just show the Play Store.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking worst case scenario, I can hold the phone up to the webcam and do that awkward thing for a quick demo, but hopefully this will work because that'd be a lot better. So it is called Super Status Bar. Super Status Bar because it is a super app. It's actually really cool and it's mostly free. There are a few advanced features that you need an in-app upgrade. We'll get to that in a sec. But the core parts of what it does, it just works right out of the box. No payments required. So my favorite part is it lets you add gestures into your status bar. And status bar, we're talking about that little thin strip at the top with your the clock notifications. So, for instance, you can set it when you long press that area, it does something. If you double tap, it does something. It can turn off your screen, open a specific app or shortcut, take a screenshot, toggle on your flashlight, all sorts of stuff. I've got mine set up now to turn off the display when I double tap there and to adjust, take a screenshot with a long press. And then the really cool part, you can slide your finger along the status bar to adjust your volume or your display brightness. So I've got mine set to do the volume right now, whichever you want. And with the volume, if you get the apps, that in-app upgrade we were talking about, it's just $2, one time, not recurring. The $2 premium upgrade, you can have it automatically detect which type of volume is most relevant to you at any given moment, your ringer, media playback, or whatever, and then default to setting that one. So you actually just scroll your finger left and right along the top part of your phone, and it adjusts your volume or your brightness, whichever you prefer. Really handy. Yeah, there you go. Kind of cool, kind of nifty. One of those things that you add in, a nice little power user tool. And the app has tons of interesting possibilities beyond that. If you really want to dig deep into it, you can bring back the old school Android gingerbread level ticker text, where you see every notification kind of scroll by in the status bar when it arrives. I've had a surprising number of people over the years ask me if there's any way to do that. People who used Android back then love that. A lot of people find it to be a little more user-friendly because you just see the whole thing scroll by at once and you don't have to stop what you're doing. Yeah, you can do it here. You can add in a real-time battery bar indicator to the top of the status bar so you see a line showing your current battery level there all the time. The more battery you have, the longer the bar is. And I think with the premium upgrade, you can do even more, changing some of the appearance of it. Kind of nifty. And the most powerful part of all, you can actually change your entire status bar structure and design it any way you like. So if you hate that current clock on the left style, that kind of controversial thing that Google's got going on with the last Android release or two, you can move the clock to the right like it used to be. You can even stick it in the center of the status bar. You can shift around where your notifications are, the system icons. You can use custom icons to replace any of the ones you don't like if you really hate the way the Wi-Fi icon looks on your phone or what have you. And you could change around the theme, the color of everything, all sorts of interesting possibilities there. This, you would think it might. It doesn't require root, anything like that, nothing special. You just install it and you start using it. It doesn't seem to have any real effect on performance or smoothness that I've seen in using it on my Pixel 4 for a handful of weeks now. It's just a really neat, fun, practical tool for taking control of that prominent part of your phone's interface, injecting some super useful extra power into it and making it look and work exactly the way you want, which is what we all love about Android at the end of the day. Tools let you do that kind of stuff. So yeah, Super Status Bar. Give it a try.
Super.
See what you think. Yeah.
Love it. Super Status Bar.
Clearly, it's super. It's right there in the name.
It is.
It is undeniably super. Yeah.
Yep.
No debate about that.
Thanks for asking. Okay. So Super Status Bar is in the Play Store, and you can find it there. as most of all the apps that we ever feature in the arena you can find in the Play Store, like this one. So I was like, oh boy, I've got to bring an app into the arena this week. I have nothing except I realized I've been using this app the last couple of weeks to do really quick on-device editing, and I was like, I swear this has been in the arena, but then I did the search with the tool and it's not there, so I'm going with it. Adobe Premiere Rush. If you're looking for a on-device video editing app, yes, it's Adobe Suite, and Adobe, does some pretty killer applications on the Mac and PC for video editing, especially with Premiere. So this is kind of their stripped down Premiere app for Android. And if you're a video editor in any way, like, there's nothing that beats the normal setup on a screen, having all of the space, the tools, the mouse, everything that you need, shortcuts on the keyboard and everything. But this app does a pretty decent job of giving you those tools. And I imagine the more you use it, so I'm going to go ahead and grant access to my audio and video. Oh, I see. This is if I want to take a video. No, I don't want to do that. I want to pick media that I already have. We'll jump into video. I recorded something with my daughter earlier about how to make tortilla egg rolls. So I'll go ahead and bring in the media, and it brings it into a timeline, and I can, kind of drag out the timeline to show the different media. I've got the little title card that we did at the beginning, how to make tortilla egg rolls, and I can shorten that. And then if I want to maybe get rid of her on-screen intro, I could do that. You can see everything is previewed up top. It's very tap and drag centric. I can, kind of move around and preview and everything. If I hit play, it would do it, but I don't want to tax screen leap, which is what is doing the cast right now. And then down at the bottom, you've got a whole row of different tools to choose from. I don't know if am I still live?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
I'm enthralled.
Right,
I'm enthralled in this whole process.
All right. Everything froze on my end, so this is obviously an edit point. Down at the very bottom, there are a number of different controls. It looks like Screen Leap is not updating those, but you've got your typicals like, doing a title, transitions, some color shifting, speeding up things, editing audio, scissors for, dropping a cut in the video, removing it, deleting it, adding layers, increasing the size of the waveforms. It's actually pretty fully featured considering you're doing this all on a phone display. And then you can save it out, share it online. And I don't know, as far as video editors on Android are concerned, I feel like this is one of the ones that I continue to kind of come back to when I want to do a really quick edit. If it's anything super complicated, obviously I'm probably just going to bring that media into my Mac and do it on a larger interface. But there, for quick edits, I've got a couple of media pieces that I just want to sandwich together, light edits, and get it out. I feel like it's really useful and it's free. So Adobe Premiere Rush works for me, and I actually really enjoy it a lot. Adobe Premiere Rush Video Editor. All right. Ron, you're up next. What you got?
Cool. All right. So my app is kind of like a bookend to Flo's app in terms of using photography and privacy, but in a different angle. I'm not going to share my screen because for the same reasons I don't want to kind of show things on my phone. But so Burke, we can use the Google Play Store listing and screenshots to show it, and it really shouldn't take very long, as it's a very simple app concept. But we've shown some secure media lockers on your phone, ways to password protect folders of photos and videos and sensitive files and things like that. But this app takes it a step further and not only gives you a secure locker to password protect photos, videos, other files, but it does it behind the guise of a calculator app. Yes, it's called Calculator Lock. Lock video and hide photo. And essentially what it is that if someone took your phone, the app icon looks like the calculator. If they tapped on the icon, it would launch a calculator. It would work as a calculator until you typed in your secret code and the equal sign, which is like the enter password, and then it unlocks the true functionality of the app, which is basically being able to add media and files and hide them behind protected, encrypted kind of digital locker, so to speak, that sort of thing. So it's real easy to hide things. There's just that, when you go into each section, there's a simple action button, and you can add photos, you can add videos, you can add files. And everything is hidden and secured on your phone. There's no there's no uploading to a cloud or anything like that. They're only stored in your device and they're encrypted. There's a way to change if you forget your password, there's a secret key that you can use to type in to reset your password. But it's pretty secure there. I would imagine if someone knew about this app, they could reset your password by centering that key, but they do have a security question. So there's a two-factor aspect to it, so that you're able to double protect your password there. And yeah, it's neat. And I'll be honest, I'm being transparent with you, genius concept, very clever, independent developer from, it appears in Cyprus. There's no in-app purchase for a premium version to support your dev. So there are ads in it. And there's actually a lot of ads. Like there's a banner ad at the bottom, and when you tap on something, you get one of those ads you have to play through, like if you play a game, that sort of thing. But the app is free, so we pay for things in different ways. If you're worried about protecting files on your device, and you truly want to have that extra layer of security this is like the Android app equivalent of one of those safes that are hidden in a book that you open up and then open it up, yes. And that's the secret thing where you can put things in. So you can hide your photos and videos behind a calculator app. And by the way, the calculator app does work. It does function as a calculator. So
okay.
Yeah.
It's like a calculator app with benefits.
Yeah, there it is.
Does the icon say calculator lock, or does it say calculator?
No, it just says calculator. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
That would be funny, but no,
that would be the dead giveaway. Yeah.
Yeah. It just says calculator, so that you're protected there. But yeah. So hopefully the developer adds in a in-app purchase to take away the ads, and then that would be a great solution. But yeah. So there you go. Calculator lock video, and hide photo, free in the Google Play Store.
That is hilarious. I love it. Calculator lock video, and hide photo. All right, so place your vote for your favorite app this week by going to twit.to/AAA poll 471. That's twit.to/AAA poll 471. Is it Scrambled EXIF? Is it Super Status Bar? Is it Adobe Premiere Rush, or Calculator lock video, and hide photo? Place your vote. We'll look at it next week. Burke is circling and has selected Super Status Bar. So, JR, you are one vote more than you were prior to that click. Woo! Congratulations. I also want to remind people, you can find, someone hit me up on Twitter and said, man, I haven't voted since the Google Plus days, but there was an app last week that I had to vote for. I wish I had this person's name. The app, by the way, was Wi-Fi AR. Pretty positive it was Wi-Fi AR. And he was like, so I had to vote for it, and I wanted to vote, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the link anywhere, and I ended up having to go into the episode and watch it. And you should make it easier for people to find the way to vote. And we put it on the show page. So if you go to twit.tv/AAA for any episode, so this week's episode would be AAA 469. We have the poll link there. We also link to the show notes. They're in the show notes. It's on the YouTube page, I believe. If you go watch our show on YouTube, you'll find the link to the poll there. So we try and do a really good job of giving you lots of options to find the poll. So we want you guys to participate. But if we could be doing something different or better, please let us know. AAA@twit.tv, and we'll see what we can do. That is it for this week. And JR, it's been so much fun having you back. It's just like
it has.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Yeah, so tell us.
Am I going out?
It was for a second, but now you're no longer a robot. You're a human again. So congratulations.
Thank goodness. Allegedly.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing. Android, Intel. You're doing a whole lot around this. So tell us about it.
I'm doing a lot. The main thing that it all kind of revolves around is a weekly newsletter I do called Android Intelligence. You can sign up if you'd like at androidintel.net. It's basically just a weekly conversation with me about what's going on in the Android greater Google world. Not just the stuff I've written, that too, but everything interesting that's going on at the moment, including lots of stuff that often isn't getting mainstream attention. So each issue, it comes out Friday mornings. Each one has 3 things to know that week. bit of quick analysis and discussion of the most interesting googly stories of the moment. And then 3 things to try that week, where I offer up some useful, hopefully practical advice, specific things to try related to Android or sometimes Gmail or Calendar, Chrome OS, Chrome the browser, some other Google associated mobile tech productivity thing. Hey, there it is. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's free to sign up. It just comes out once a week on Friday. I'm not going to spam you or anything, I promise. No one sees your stuff. No one sees your info. It's just a newsletter once a week. AndroidIntel.net if you want to sign up.
Nice. Right on. Keep up the great work, man. And so happy to get you back on. And I'm not going to stop bugging you. So maybe we'll have you get back again sometime soon.
Yeah, again before 47 years later. So we'll keep up, like every 43 years. We'll get a nice little bit going.
So you're saying there's a chance. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Flo, what's up with you?
What's up with me is I'm also very much enjoying JR's newsletters on Friday, by the way. So anybody who hasn't subscribed definitely should. It's a great Android, like the week in Android and tips and things. So, yay, JR.
Thank you, Flo. I'm over here blushing.
As for me, I don't have any newsletter for you to subscribe to. Maybe yet. But I do have a website, florenceion.com. That's the Flow feed. And that's where you will be seeing my Oppo review when it goes up. I'm currently working on that right now for the Find X2, which I showed off on the show last week. I'm getting back into Twitch streaming. So if that's your thing, you can follow me at twitch.tv/OThatFlow. I did do a Twitch stream last week. It was the unboxing of the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro. So you can go check that out at my Twitch page. And you know what? Let me know what you think. Use my contact me form at florenceion.com and let me know what you think. And until next week, everyone, from me. Terrible, terrible transition, but yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Flo. What about you, Ron?
Yeah, so if you want to follow me on social media, I'm RonXO on Twitter and on Instagram. Those are the most, I don't know, barely updated platforms I'm still on. But if you're looking for some more audio entertainment, you can head over to ifanboy.com, where recently, thanks to the boys at iFanboy reaching their latest Patreon goal, it has unlocked a monthly podcast called iFanboy Media Explode, where I rejoin my former co-hosts to talk about anything but comics. On Media Explode, we're talking about movies, TV shows, books, music, anything, any media that we're enjoying. It was one of those, it was a long-standing Patreon goal that was finally met. So in this first episode, we talked about Almost Famous, a movie from 20 years ago that's been hotly debated amongst the three of us, as well as the recent HBO miniseries, The Plot Against America. And we made streaming recommendations for while we've been home. It's fun. It's just entertainment. So it's totally free. Go to ifanboy.com to check it out. And of course, while you subscribe to iFanboy, I am tuning into their comic book show weekly to talk about G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, the animation series from the 80s. We've done the first 5-episode miniseries, and we're getting ready to embark on the second 5-episode miniseries. I can't wait. So that's always fun to listen to. So if you're looking for some nostalgia, go there. So.
The realist American hero, I might add.
Exactly. It's really inspiring in these times. Yeah.
It is. Thank you, Ron. Big thank you to Burke in the studio, who's been pushing buttons, sometimes the wrong buttons, but I love it. Keep it up. And to Victor, who's been in our chat room and helping us edit and do some show production behind the scenes and everything. Love having you both along. You can find my new-ish show. Please check it out, because if you like this show, you'll like that show as well. twit.tv/HOA is Hands on Android. Last week, I did an episode where I took a look at developer options menu, but for everyday people. So what options in the developer options menu might everyday people who aren't developers still benefit from? I detail a number of options that you can find in there. And my episode that launches this Thursday is on the OnePlus 8 Pro, and specifically Oxygen OS, why it's one of my favorite Android skins, and some tips and tricks that make it really useful. So that's twit.tv/HOA. That is it for this week's show. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We always enjoy doing this show. We enjoy it even more because apparently you enjoy it too. So we wouldn't be here without you. Twit.tv/AAA is the show page on the web where you can go to find links to subscribe, audio, video, link out to YouTube. All the ways to subscribe are there. You can leave us a voicemail, 347-SHOW-AAA. I realize I haven't said that in a while. And email AAA@twit.tv. And that is it for this week's episode. We'll see you all next week on another episode of All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Ta-ta.